welcome to the High Fidelity podcast. We hope you're having a safe, happy, and warm Merry Christmas. Happy holidays out there. This is a special Christmas episode. We're going to be talking about Bad Santa, the 2003 film, directed by Terry Zwigoff. It's starring Billy Bob Thornton. And typically here at the High Fidelity podcast, we review record-related movies, but it's a special circumstances, the holidays, and we wanted to cover a holiday film. And what better one than Bad Santa, directed by Ghost World favorite director of ours, Terry Zwigoff. And I am your host, Joseph Ngo. Here, as usual, with my partner and co-host, Edwin Lee. How you doing, Edwin?
Great. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes, thank you for joining me, my friend. And, we both agreed to do Bad Santa because it was directed by Terry Zwigoff. But it's also such a great anti-Christmas movie. Very transgressive. Daring, off-the-wall comedy, as Roger Ebert says. And so I thought, what better way to ring in this Christmas than to talk about Bad Santa and its 20th anniversary that came out in 2003. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's been a while. I was telling you earlier that I hadn't seen it since I saw it in the theater, so it hasn't seemed like it's been 20 years, but yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah. It has. And you said that was maybe the last time you saw it in the theaters.
Yeah,
20 years ago, right?
To prep for this, I rewatched it for the first time since seeing it in the theater. So it was interesting to see what aged well and, maybe what was more of a document of the time.
Great, awesome, yeah. So typically here on the podcast, we're going to have a top 5 list as is our want, because it is a high fidelity podcast. We haven't been with you guys since our Jackie Brown podcast earlier this year, so thank you guys for waiting, and all of our 5 fans out there. You're gonna get 2 podcasts this year instead of just one, so thank you for supporting us and listening to us. So we are going to have our top 5 list. This episode, we're going to have top 5 Christmas songs. We're going to have kind of a general or overall thoughts of the film. Maybe talk about, what we were like, what we're doing at the time it came out. Have a quick little trivia section. And then we're going to get into the scene-by-scene recap of the film in its entirety. So that's going to be the structure of our show. And we are going to start with our top 5 Christmas songs list. Shall we get started with that?
Sure.
You want to start first, Edwin?
Sure.
What was your criteria for... Do you have any?
Well, definitely had to be a Christmas song, like something that no one would doubt that it was a Christmas song. And it had to be, something that I can say that I'm truly a fan of this song, whether it's the band or the song itself. And so these are, it was pretty easy, I think, for me to come up with my top 5, because, there's a lot of great Christmas songs out there, but these are the ones that I always have in mind.
Yeah, I don't want to guess, but I could.
You could probably guess.
I could probably guess some of your sensibility. It's kind of rock and roll oriented.
Yeah.
So, please, I'm very curious to hear from 5 to 1. Please, what is your top 5?
That
Christmas
might
songs?
be a little tough, because these could all be interchangeable. I didn't necessarily rank them, but I'll rank them. I kind of made a short list, so I'll rank them as I go off the top of my head. But that being said, a lot of these 5 could be 2 and 3 could be
on
4
any
or
given
whatever.
day, right?
Yeah. Okay, so number 5, I'll go with Merry Christmas Everybody by Slade. A great sing-along song. I do like glam rock, and so this has become a favorite. I wouldn't say that I um, was even aware of this song for, when I was younger as a kid, but when I finally did hear it, it has become a season favorite. Uh, four,
Sorry, Slade is a glam rock band
yeah,
from the 80s.
yes, yeah, yeah, one of the bigger names of that 70s. Um, there's definitely some honorable mentions, and maybe I should have started with those. And so uh, I'll do some honorable mentions before I go any further. I I big Ramones fan. Uh, they've got a Christmas song, "Merry Christmas, Don't Want to Fight Tonight." Love hearing it, love playing it. Didn't quite crack the top five, but um, right there on the edge. Something that sorry, go ahead.
Maybe you could sneak into the top 10,
Yeah,
Laura.
yeah, maybe next year. Maybe that might.
But there's
sneak-
just no room for you in the top 5.
No. One that would have perennially been in my top five, but another song supplanted it, would have been Band-Aids. Do They Know It's Christmas Time? I loved that ever since I was a kid. It's, a charity super group where, all the big names made the song to aid famine relief in the 80s in Ethiopia. So Do They Know It's Christmas Time? Yeah, normally would have been top five, but this year, one that I wouldn't have necessarily known or have had in my top five, but I've come to love it, is This Christmas by Donny Hathaway. I don't know where that song's been for most of my life, but of, recent Christmases, I've heard the song more and more, and yeah, it's fantastic. Number three, Father Christmas by the Kinks. That's always been a top five. Big Kinks fan. Funny lyrics. Almost, anti-Christmas. As is my number two, Christmas Wrapping
Yes.
by the Waitresses. That's kind of an anti.
Yeah. You always
Well,
play that
it's
at the
Christmas,
bar.
but yeah, like anti-Christmas in a way. But it comes around to being a Christmas song.
Yeah, the lyrics aren't necessarily anti-Christmas because it's very kind of joyful.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I feel like
for sure.
the format of the instrumental and the way it sounds like very rock and roll, like very
Yeah.
non-traditional Christmas music. So
Yeah.
I think like the instrumentation
Oh, great.
may
great,
sound
yeah.
a little anti-Christmas to me, almost punkish, like
Oh yeah,
pop punk.
for sure. New
You
wave
know?
pop punk. Yeah, I love the story that it tells, where this person's, I don't know, if either feeling, lonely or down on love and kind of bah humbuggy, but then, comes around to have a positive outlook on Christmas. So yeah, great song.
Never knew what the song was about. Thank you for sharing.
And number one, probably maybe for the rest of my life, Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues, considering Shane MacGowan passed away fairly recently. I'm sure it's being played even more than it normally would this time of year. So rest in peace, Shane MacGowan. Fairy Tale of New York, number one.
Mm-hmm. Number one with a bullet.
With a bullet. Yes. Here to
Yes.
stay. Hot 100.
As our guy John Cusack says in High Fidelity, right? Awesome, great list. Very, surprising. Not too surprising because I know your sensibility, but very non-traditional is what I was is the word I was looking for, and came to me just in time. So thank goodness for that. Thank you for sharing that to us, Edwin.
All right. So I'm dying to hear what's your top five?
It's a little more traditional, but I want to do some honorable mentions as well since you got me on that kick. I was recently DJing at the El Torito where they unfortunately let me go, and they requested a lot of Spanish songs, so I thought it were around Christmas time, So the only Christmas songs that I knew were Jose Feliciano, the Feliz Navidad,
yep.
which is one of
Classic.
my favorites. And I forget who it was by, but it was like a child, like Tony Santana, or not Santana, but it's a Tony Santana. I don't know. I forgot what the kid's name was, but it was Donde está Santa Claus?
Okay.
I really love that song. Donde está Santa Claus? Um, and another quick shout out to Twice's Christmas song. They usually have like 3 singles a year. And then I think around 2018 they did a song called Heart Shaker. And it's a very lively, colorful MV, music video. And very upbeat, very mixed pop, which is their genre of like R&B, rock and roll, and pop music. So shout out to Twice, one of my favorite K-pop girl groups there. All right, let's get into my top 5 Christmas songs. Number 5, most of these songs, I think my criteria is more like cinematic.
Okay.
It's like the stuff that I go back to and like makes me sentimental. Whenever I hear the song, maybe I'll think of the movie, or vice versa. Or I don't know what vice versa, how that works in this case. But number 5, "Run Run Rudolph" by Chuck Berry.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's Chuck Berry, right? It's the song in Home Alone where they're running to the airport. Run, run, Rudolph. Another great, kind of rock and roll Christmas song classic. Another kind of honorable mention, Blue Christmas by Elvis Presley, and a very sad song, but love that. I love the rock and roll joint. Like the 60s had some great, even 50s had some great Christmas rock and roll songs, right? I believe, okay, this may be a 70s song, but it's "Santa Claus is Coming to Town" by the Jackson 5.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's my number 4. It's such a great different rendition, Santa Claus is coming to town, instead of, the traditional melody of that. They kind of change it up with that, with the chorus, right? And then they go into the more classical structure of the song, but I just recently heard that on 103.5, and I'm like, oh man, I don't hear this enough, and I really love it, so I had to put it on the list. Number 3, I don't know if it's in any movie, but maybe you can, we can come back to that later if we think of it. My number 3 is famously from Goodfellas. It's "Christmas, Baby Please Come Home" by Darlene Love. I could pinpoint exactly where they cue that song in the movie is during I think it was the Lufthansa heist after that, and then they all like come into like a large sum of money, but they're trying to hide it. So they're like I think the De Niro character is like getting mad at everyone for buying like these extravagant gifts. And like one guy comes in and his wife's wearing like a mink coat, and he's like, "Get that off of her! Like, you bought a car, like return it or whatever." I don't know what he says, but I just remember distinctly that song playing during that scene where they're all getting together at the bar, and just really sentimental. I love the way that song comes in with the horns, and it just. It just makes me feel warm, nice and fuzzy and warm inside. As a Christmas song should do. Makes you feel sentimental, right? All right, we're getting into more. Again, very cinematic as well, but this was in one of the movies we reviewed, Almost Famous. My number 2 is the Chipmunk song by Alvin and the Chipmunks. Yeah. Christmas music. I love like rock and roll, adult-oriented Christmas music as well, but Christmas time is for kids.
Sure.
And the most evocative, the most sentimental music is what you loved as a child.
Sure.
Because you connected most to Christmas when you were a kid. So I figured, my top 2 is mainly like kid songs.
Okay.
But they're very like standout kid songs,
Sure.
Like Alvin, come on. How
can you
not like
that's great.
The Chipmunk song? Like, Alvin! Like, we want to sing it one more time. What kind of voice do they just like...
They probably just pitched it.
Raise the pitch, right? Christmas, Christmas time. Okay, I'm not gonna try to sing it in that.
So number one, drum roll, please.
Number one with a bullet. I can't do a drum roll with my mouth. It is Christmas Time Is Here by the Vince Guaraldi Trio.
Nice.
Every time I hear, I don't think I've ever seen a Charlie Brown Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe see like scenes of it when it's
Mm-hmm.
like, playing on Channel 4 or something,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever channel on broadcast TV. But I mainly know this song mostly from, I believe, is like a Wes Anderson film. Could be either Royal Tenenbaums or Rushmore,
Okay.
and also from Arrested Development, because
Okay.
there's this gag that they do when somebody's sad, and then they hunch over like Charlie Brown or Linus or somebody from the cartoon,
Uh-huh.
and they play dum dum dum. It's like just it's like a cartoonish punchline to show that this person is sad.
Okay.
But such a it hits me so hard. It's just almost like a tragic song, you know?
Yeah, it's got like winter melancholy, but it's
Thank you.
happy at the same. Yeah,
Yes, thank you. It's perfect because it's perfect encapsulation of the winter solstice. Obviously, most people are depressed during the holidays if they don't have a loved one but I think more in scientific, from a scientific perspective, the winter solstice. It's the coldest time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We're farthest away from the sun. I think our bodies are reacting to that, to the world and the mood, and we're a little bit more depressed. So perfect encapsulation of that, the winter melancholy, as you put it. Thank you so much for saying. I love that term so much. I'm going to use it all the time now. But that is our top 5 songs of the year. Very we contrasted each other very well, but very different. I like that none of our songs bled over.
But all the songs you mentioned, I was like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
Were you like Barry? Like, oh, I should have been mine. No, but yours very esoteric. At the same time, I knew some of them, but it makes me want to, search some of them out.
Yeah,
so
I think that
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of other people's lists. It's like, oh, I don't know that, but I like these other things that are on the list, so I'm at the very least curious.
Yeah. Very cool. So that will conclude our top 5 lists. Let's get into our general thoughts of Bad Santa. And actually, can you tell me, maybe not too much in detail if you don't want to, dox yourself, but what you were like, maybe? Where were you at that point in your life? And how did you see the movie in 2003 in December?
So this is 2003. Yeah, I would say why I would even go see the movie was based on the strength of Ghost World. I consider myself a fan of Terry Zwigoff based off of Crumb and Ghost World, so whatever he was going to do next, I was on board. And I think the impression I got was, it was going to be an irreverent movie, and I think at that point in my life, I was just heavily into music and in the excitement of kind of the indie rock renaissance of the early 2000s. So maybe the excitement of Terry Zwigoff's movies kind of fit in with that feeling. So
You were out of college at that point, right?
yeah. So I was very much in prime young adulthood.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think indie movies were in the mainstream, just like indie music was in the mainstream. So it was an exciting time to go to the movies.
Sure.
See something beyond, you know, the conventional. And to prepare for this, I was just kind of reading some, critical reception of the movie at the time, and I think at the time it was considered really, I don't know, crass and in off color, and maybe at the time it was, but and maybe it was influential in a way of things to come after it, whether it's like that the same feeling of like Jackass and stuff like that. It just seems like pretty tame compared to what is fairly average these days. So it's funny to see how things have changed and what's considered risque or
Sure.
or appropriate or inappropriate. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
How about
my
you?
friend.
What was younger Joseph 20 years ago?
Well, I gotta say, thank you for asking, and thank you for sharing. 2003 was a seminal year for me for cinema. I was in college at a local community college, and my local cinema was closed down for when did Godzilla come out? The Roland Emmerich film. I think it was like '97. Right?
Was that like right after like
The one
Independence
with
Day?
the one with Matthew Broderick.
Okay.
He was maybe '98. He was '98 or 97 or '98. That was the last movie that came out at my local theater before they tore it down, and then I had to just go to other cities to watch movies for maybe like 5 years. '03 was when the theater opened up again. Krikorian opened up, so I was going there all the time. And I remember it was such a great year. When it opened, I watched like X-Men X United, X2 X-Men United, Matrix Reloaded, which is reviewed horribly, but I loved at the time. Kill Bill Volume 1 came out that year. And then I remember 2003 very distinctly because that was the year I took a speech class, and I was just very, I'm not I don't like hate talking in front of people and stuff, and so I remember just dreading that year, that latter half of the year. And 2003 was actually, Bad Santa was actually the movie that opened me up to watch Ghost World.
Okay.
So I watched Bad Santa first.
Okay, interesting.
I saw Bad Santa based on maybe a trailer I saw from one of the many films I saw at my local theater. And I'm like, oh, this looks really interesting. Billy Bob Thornton, and went to go see it, and I thought this movie was just so, like, seditious is the wrong term, but it was just like so like anti-consumerist.
Sure.
And I was kind of all about that, and I love that message. I thought it was just so daring, just so bold. And I was like, who is this director? I wanted to find out more. And then I remember just like looking up Ghost World, and I'm like, I may have said in our Ghost World podcast that I rented it first. I remember distinctly now just blind buying it because of Bad Santa. I was like, this director can do no wrong, just based off his short filmography. I think I may have sought after Crumb after that, but I went to just go blind buy Ghost World, and I remember just being utterly and completely obsessed with it. And so Bad Santa was seminal for me because it introduced me to Ghost World and Terry Zwigoff, and subsequently Daniel Klaus.
Yeah.
So I feel like Bad Santa is just like a great, what's that word I'm looking for?
Gateway
Thank you.
portal.
Yes. Great gateway portal. Thank you so much. It like opened up all these doors for me in terms of like black comedy.
Yeah.
I may have heard and have seen like some Todd Solondz films, which is kind of in that vein as well. Just like
for
that,
sure.
So totally sardonic, dark comedy.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison or a good like association to make, because there's certain characters in Bad Santa that seem like they would be right at home at a Todd Solondz movie.
Yeah. Todd Solondz is a bit too dark.
Sure,
You know,
sure, yeah.
He's more dramatist than comedy, or maybe just like way dark comedy. You know,
And in
but
my opinion, less accessible.
sure, yeah. I mean, I remember a character in like storytelling saying like, "What about those underground comics?" You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so he knows what's up with like Daniel Klaus and stuff like that. So great, yeah. So just to say, to wrap up, yeah, Bad Santa, seminal film for me.
Mhm.
I remember it so well, and I thank you, Terry Zwigoff and Billy Bob Thornton, and Glenn Requa and John Ficarra, because they wrote the script. All right, shall we get into some quick little trivia before we start the recap?
Sure.
Okay, so this is coming from. All right, yeah. So this is coming from the Blu-ray. There's a special feature interview with Roger Ebert. So the film was shot on video, which is interesting because Zwigoff is a 35 millimeter film guy. He was saying how like a lot of stuff came up, like the colors were more vibrant and picture a bit more clear. Like you could actually see the snot from the kid's nose in that scene because of the video, right? The original idea came from the Coen brothers, who kind of just wanted like a very perverted, like misanthropic Santa, which is their general concept. And then I think they pitched it in front of John Requa and Glenn Ficarra, or the other way around, or then maybe they were in the room together, and then John and Glenn heard that and said they just wrote a script based off of that. They kind of just like off of spec to impress the Coens.
Do you know if this is just from speculation, if they had mentioned any of their inspirations? Because I was thinking about a Simpsons episode where Barney, the local drunk, plays like a department store Santa, and comes to Moe's Tavern, I think, after he's done with his shift as a Santa. So the whole drunk Santa, there have been versions of that before, so I don't know. And that was like 89.
There's nothing in interviews, or I'm like scrolling through the Bad Santa trivia here on IMDb, and nothing alludes to like the genesis of the idea.
Yeah.
But all we know on paper and in interviews is that the concept came from the Coens, and then Requa and Ficarra wrote that for the Coens to direct. Because who wouldn't want to at the time? They're huge, they still are, and ended up Coens actually rewrote it and add some like pithier dialogue. I think like, for instance, one of the lines when the kid asks Santa, "Do you have any kids?" and he says, originally it was written as "No, thank God," but the Coens wrote it as "No, thank the fuck Christ." Yeah. So they like punched it up.
Yeah, I did
considerably.
I did read that as well, that they did add like grosser jokes or
just like clever.
Just
make it less mundane and just like more like pops out. Like Terry Zwigoff usually probably writes his own. He probably did a couple of rewrites as well, but he was attracted to the project because of the script was just so sharp, So Roger Ebert quoted it as a quote, "Take no prisoners for the entire run," end quote. I love that quote. Terry Zwigoff said, in response to all the religious zealots, he said, like, "Oh, we're offended by having such a bad Santa." First of all, Santa's not religious. It's just something that corporate America made up, like the Easter Bunny, to make money, right? There's no religious affiliation at all. And also, this character is not Santa. He's not playing like a fictionalized real version of Santa. He's a crook playing Santa in a department store. You know what I mean? So there's a huge distinction there. On casting the kid, I think is Brett Kelly, which I love. Zweigov said he needed a kid like Joe Cobb,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the kids from the Little Rascals.
Okay.
And the casting department kept bringing him like conventional Disney type
Yeah,
kids, like
yeah.
or just like cute. And he was like, no, no, I need like a real kid, like a real awkward
Mm-hmm.
kid, you know. So I'm glad he won that. Uh, he actually, talking about Tony Cox now, who plays who's the little person who plays Marcus in the film. He really went to bat for Tony. He wanted him to play the second lead, and he even threatened to quit if Tony wasn't hired. Great, and he had also a little tidbit about Ghost World. The record that Seymour shows to Enid, the Skip James record.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Look at this. It's not in perfect mint condition, but it's like he's like appraising it to her,
Yeah, yeah.
and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." Like
Yeah.
that was actually a Roy Rogers record, and
Uh-huh.
with a printed label pasted on it. I don't know why I wrote that down. I thought it was an interesting tidbit. I have a lot more trivia from the IMDb, but I'll get to some of it during our.
Yes, you'll weave it in. You'll
Yeah,
integrate it
yeah.
as it comes up.
Oh, also, the department store was the same one used as in Jackie Brown. One more real quick. I like this one a lot. Billy Bob Thornton. This is from the Bad Santa IMDb trivia page. Billy Bob Thornton has said that he was genuinely intoxicated during some of the filming to get in character.
Mm.
On the escalator scene, in the escalator scene where he's passed out,
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
lying on the thing,
Mm-hmm.
you see like the broken bottles. He actually passed out after drinking 3 glasses of red wine for breakfast,
Mm.
followed by vodkas, cranberry juice, and a few Bud Lights.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, that is method right there. And I can't tell in some scenes he genuinely looks like he's gonna pass out.
Yeah.
He looks like when he's like incontinent, sitting in the the Santa's world thing.
Yeah.
I forget what that's called, but yeah, he looks like he's really genuinely intoxicated there. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but hey, he made for a really genuine rendition there. So all right, what are your overall thoughts of the film, Edwin?
Overall, it's funny. I really like the sense of humor, the dialogue, the jokes. It's funny. I liked the characterization from the main characters, but I also like John Ritter's character Bob.
I know that was Three's Company's your favorite show.
Yeah,
growing up,
it was
so.
funny. The Thurman Merman character was interesting. Even Bernie Mac's character is interesting. I would say maybe there are some characters that don't get quite as much development, like Lauren Graham's
Oh, yeah.
character, or Lois. But but overall, I feel like the actors did develop the characters. The themes, and the, I guess you can call them tropes, that are familiar to Terry Zwigoff movies, outsiders, misfits, those characters. There is, statements on consumerism, capitalism,
Right.
commercialism,
Materialism. Just like not unlike Ghost World, right?
Sure, and other themes like maybe society expecting people to be the same as whatever job they're doing and to do it like 24/7. It's like, yes, he's playing a Santa Claus, and yes, you might expect a Santa Claus person to be good with kids, or to be squeaky clean, or to be cheerful all the time, but it's just his job.
Yeah.
And he's eating lunch, and this lady expects him to be in character all the time. It's just like
I'm on my fucking lunch break.
yeah, the unfair expectations of that people are their jobs and the jobs are them, or you know, in other variations on that. I thought that was something that stood out to me. We don't know what each mall Santa Claus is as a person in their lives, and this movie humanizes them. And you know, you could say the same for name the profession. You know, it shows, you know, that they have their complicated lives just like everybody else. So so
it sounds like you're a huge fan of the film.
I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to get too much into it, but I think I've echoed everything I've said about it in my kind of what I thought about it at the time. But watching it today, having seen Ghost World and having seen Ghost World many times, I could see, you know, all the parallels and all the inspirations, the influence, and it holds up. I know it's much more offensive today. We're much more sensitive culture today, so it wouldn't fly today. Of course, nothing would from the 2000s or the 90s. But watching it again, I really feel like really well paced. It is exactly as, if not more funny than I remember. All the punchlines really hit home for me still. And it's a great kind of relax and have a drink and watch this movie, kind of a movie. You know, it's kind of it gets a little dramatic at the end, of course, just like kind of Ghost World, how it turns from like almost like a broad comedy into like more of a dramedy towards the end, which is fine, which is completely up Terry Zweigoff's sensibility. And I really had a great time with this again, and I usually revisit this like every couple of years, so I'm very familiar with the plot and the jokes, so it's good that we finally got around to doing a review of it, you know. So okay, before we get into the recap, let me ask you, so there's 3 different versions of this film. Of course, I saw it in theaters, so I'm closest to the theatrical version, which is, I believe, 93 minutes.
Okay.
And then there's the uncut version, which is pretty much the theatrical version with extended scenes to make it more raunchy, like the big and tall sex scene, maybe like longer extended scenes where they curse each other out. Marcus and Willie like curse each other out more. You know, it's make it more raunchier so people can like have more incentive to buy it. You know what I mean? It's usually what the selling pitch is for these, you know, crude R-rated comedies for the DVD versions, right? So, and then the director's cut, which is Terry Zweigoff's preferred version, is 128 minutes, and most notably, it omits the voiceover in the beginning, and rearranges some scenes, and I'll get into some detail of what it does for the ending later when we get there. But you saw the one that was available on the streaming service, right, Edwin?
Yes.
So that must have been the unrated version. Is probably the more accessible version.
I don't. It's been so long since I saw the theatrical version. I can't imagine it's too different. Than that.
I watched both. I wanted to watch the unrated version just because to get that nostalgia back of me watching it in theaters and just to enjoy it. And then I watched the commentary, the director's cut with commentary, because that's the only version that has a commentary. So it's because I wanted to get all these like inside bits about the making of the film. And the commentaries with director Terry Zweigoff and the film editor, something Hoffman, I believe. Sorry if I missed that. So let's get right into the recap, shall we?
Yes.
When it came to holiday spirit, Willie never had it.
It's not real.
Well, it was real. I got sick and all the hair fell out.
How'd you get sick?
I loved a woman that wasn't clean.
Mrs. Santa?
No, it was her sister.
Oh, no.
All right, so it starts, we go directly into, the bar like some kind of Irish pub, right? And Santa's sitting alone there, wallowing in some sorrow.
Yeah, before it gets to him, it starts off with, cheerful people dressed very preppily in their, sweaters and everything, and it looks like they're drinking their glasses of wine and maybe office holiday parties or whatever. And so it starts off with all the traditional Christmas images.
Sure.
And then, it comes to Willie. So, I think in that first scene, you get where this movie's going to go, that it's going to upend these traditional...
subvert all these cliches.
Yeah, exactly.
O'Hara's Pub is what it's called. And I think it was like a classical piece of music. Most of this movie has like what he calls pop classic, music, classical music that people are familiar with. I think it starts with like a nocturne or something like that. So very almost like winter melancholy. It's like it starts with like this melancholic place already to get us in that mood, get us in his mindset. So the main distinction I already said is that also in the opening when you see the logo, like Dimension Films, in the theatrical version and the unrated, you hear like sleigh bells, like ching, 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 ching. And then in the director's cut, you don't.
Okay.
So it's more overtly like a Christmas movie in the theatrical.
Yeah.
Also, the voiceover, like I said, is Terry Zweighouse says in the commentary that he found it inelegant and not up to par with the rest of the script, and it wasn't written by any of the original writers. So I feel like it may have just been some kind of studio notes that they put in for him to add, so they know that it's funny.
Yeah.
Like he said that when he saw this with a test audience, they didn't know whether or not to laugh.
Okay.
And that Zweigoff loved that.
Okay.
But obviously, studio heads want people to laugh overtly.
And there have been so many examples of good movies. I wouldn't say ruined, but made less good by just kind of ham-fisted, heavy-handed voiceovers, like Blade Runner, things like that, and what's that? American Beauty has kind of it's just like
I know you love that movie.
Stupid. Stating the obvious,
beating you over the head.
Yeah.
Let me read some of the voiceover just to give you an idea. It says, "I've been to prison once. I've been married twice." Again, just ham-fisted kind of exposition, right, of his backstory. "I was once drafted by Lyndon Johnson and had to live in shit-ass Mexico for 2.5 years for no reason. I've had my eye socket punched in, a kidney taken out, and I got a bone chip in my ankle that's never going to heal. I've seen some pretty shitty situations in my life, but nothing has ever sucked more ass than this." So, okay, I don't want to read the rest, but he's pretty much saying that he's suicidal, and it's obvious he's alone at a bar. He's Santa. You could kind of deduce that, but I guess we need to know because the studio wants to dumb it down, right? But that's fine. It's a studio movie, so you gotta pick and choose where your fights are. You know what I mean? So, and all the stuff that we get to learn later anyway. Like he's talking about how his father abused him. Yeah. He says that later when he's talking to the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did appreciate that about the movie because the whole time I'm watching it, it begs the question, like, well, why is Willie at this point? How did he get there through his life? And I don't feel like the movie, again, is heavy-handed and makes it overly obvious. There's some bits of dialogue here and there where it gives you some clues and some insight and leaves it up to the viewer to pay attention to that and piece it together and make some inferences. So I did appreciate that. Yeah. That it's just not like hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah. I mean, these are cliches that have been known through time.
Sure.
Right? Like
sure.
abusive alcoholic father, must have been beaten by his dad,
Yeah.
must have been gone through war, right? Strip, I don't want to generalize, but a stripper or a hooker, they must have had daddy issues, molested by somebody. It's like you put those together. They're cliches for a reason, and you don't need the voiceover to spell it out. But
Right.
it's all good. It is what it is. So let me ask you this: when you saw the movie, was there a voiceover? Do you remember that at all?
When I saw the movie the second time,
Yeah, recently.
I want to say I do remember their
Okay.
voiceover.
So
yes.
that's what you probably watched this version then. Okay, great. Anything else you want to mention about? Okay, so yeah, it's just him at the bar, and then later he walks down the alley and throws up, and then you get the title card of the film, which is really clever and ironic, right? Bad Santa, he's throwing up in an alleyway. He's an alcoholic. Anything else you want to mention for this scene before we move on?
No, I think we yeah.
Yeah. Nice way to set up the mood, though, right? Nice
Yeah,
storytelling.
yeah. Again, it lets you know what kind of movie you're going to be watching. Yeah.
And then we get some, happy disposition, typical Christmas music. Into the mall, and there's Santa Claus over there. A kid, through the perspective of a kid who goes into seeing, wow, sees like what do you call it? Like a winter wonderland.
Sure.
Santa's workstation and whatever you call it. We get to meet Marcus and I forget her name. Something Boris.
Alexis Borstein.
Thank you. Yeah, who famously is
from Mad TV.
the voice of that and the voice of Lois in Family Guy. And we get that photo of Santa just dead drunk.
This does evoke, other movies like
Christmas Story. Yeah.
where the Santa Claus isn't the kindest, gentlest person.
I've never seen Christmas Story.
Oh, okay.
Is he kind of a bad Santa?
Well, not to this extent,
yeah.
but just impatient.
Okay. Is he kind of a grump?
Yeah, a little grumpy.
Yeah. You're not quite Scrooge or...
Yeah, definitely not drunk or foul-mouthed or anything like that. But.
This is the first mall that we see them in. We don't know that till later. Willie pisses himself. I love this line. He's like, "Oh what? Jesus Christ! You pissed yourself?" You can tell he's just waiting to get through the day to drink more. He's probably drinking on the job. He's got a little 375 of whiskey there. We learn later that his brand is Old Granddad.
Old Granddad.
Which is
must
nasty
be
ass bourbon.
Some product placement there.
Some bottom shelf cheap ass bourbon. Hey, whatever, get your rocks off, The scene where he leaves is a bit different in the director's cut. He just says, like fuck off or something, but in this version, he says, your pants are awful baggy. What do you got on there? Yeah, my dick. You want to see it? So, anything to say about this scene here? Oh yeah, this is just the introduction of their first heist, right?
Yeah, there are certain things where you have to maybe suspend your disbelief, because I know later in the movie they do show parents upset or aghast by his behavior, but in those scenes where he's whipping out a bottle
Flask,
of it's like
and he did that after too.
You would think parents would be all up in arms and this and that, but again he
doesn't do anything extreme till later.
Yeah.
On the job. I love this scene because you get that Nutcracker suite. Right?
Yeah.
You get Marcus in that little mini snowman suit, and he goes down the escalator, slides down, and the bowling pins. You hear that sound of the bowling pins when he crashes into the department store setup.
I do like that scene where he's so short that he has to use the mannequin arm to disarm the...
He does that twice. He does that again later. So it's a nice little setup there.
And this just goes to show you that, this was a document of 20 years ago, before having ring cameras and surveillance
Right,
everywhere at
Yeah.
every second of the day,
Right.
constantly being monitored. Like this couldn't be made
Yeah.
today.
Unless
where-
you have like a team.
right,
Like
where
an IT
there's
specialist.
cameras everywhere and it's
Yeah.
recording all the time.
You need
like,
hackers.
yeah, so
You need to spray paint the cameras.
like this one, all he had to do was just disarm the alarm, and
Right.
they have free reign to
Yeah.
spend all the time they want
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And then before they get Willie cracking the safe, you see like 10 empty beer cans. So he's already like slipping. You can see the disdain on Marcus's face. He's just like shaking his head like until the safe opens and he's like, "Fuck the loofah, let's go." And of course, Lois is like, "Did you get the loofah?" I believe the actress is from Joy Luck Club, and she thought that this role she was going to be hated by the Asian American community forever. I think is what Terry Zwigoff said, but I don't think it's that too offensive. I think it's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah. And she's not an overly prominent character enough for people to really pay too much attention.
And she's not like an airhead either.
Right.
She's actually smart.
Right.
Like
She's clever.
Yeah.
She's, detail oriented.
Yeah. A little too obsessed with designer accessories, but that's the American way. Come on now. Not everyone. Most women are, obsessed with.
She's certainly not unique in wanting to have nice things.
Yeah. Next scene, they're at the bar. They're celebrating. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. A lot of great. I love the soundtrack. As much as Terry Zwigoff may hate like the Christmas music and like contemporary Christmas songs, it's wall to wall, and it makes it for a great time. I don't know if he's like poking fun out of it.
I feel like he does a lot of that. Like he is trying to show the ridiculousness of mainstream America. Like he obviously did that a lot in Ghost World through commercials and songs and TV shows, and I feel like he continues to do that here, like in as what I could tell. I don't think it's like fabricated. I think it's actual like real life, like video games and TV shows and commercials, and he gives like a decent amount of camera time to showing that, to again parody just contemporary American society and culture.
You mean classic hits like "No More Education, It's Time for Celebration." Because this is the day of our high school graduation. We stay for the duration.
Achieve matriculation. And now we are members of
the general population. And also the like the very generally like pop song that comes in the 50s diner.
Yeah.
Like who could forget this staple from who could forget this classic from the 50s? I feel like I've stepped into a time machine. All right, yeah. So they're at the bar. They're commiserating. Not really commiserating. They're just talking about like their next steps, right? Willie's like, maybe I'll go, open up a bar, marry a waitress. Marcus is like, he's gonna piss it all away and wait till count the days till next Christmas so we could. This scene really sets up like they do this every year,
right? And it establishes their dynamic.
Yeah,
like who Marcus is, who Willie is, and how Marcus is well acquainted with Willie's MO. Yeah.
And his alcoholism.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna put that hat on so fast, you're gonna get fucking hat burn. He's like, the waitress comes like, "Can you get 2 more?" He's like, "No, we're all right, thanks." He's like, like you're gonna quit after just declining 1 round.
Yeah.
He's like, "See, I'm on the wagon already."
And then it jumps to the next scene where it's in Miami where Willie said he would be. You're like, okay, maybe he made good on his promise.
Yeah, he's like behind a bar.
Right. You think he's
like he opened up a bar.
Yeah, open up a bar, or at least holding down a regular 9 to 5 bartending gig, but no.
Yeah. He's like, get out of here. He's like, get out of my bar. What you doing in my bar? Some like East European guy.
Yeah, so he's again up to his shady
Yeah.
business.
I love that. It's another like cliche in sitcom of like you see one thing and then it actually turns out to be another.
Right.
It's like a very visual gag. But
And then that scene, which is very much in character with Willie, is he's sitting on the bench eating a corn dog and
watching
drinking
the
a beer.
the girls play volleyball.
Yeah, that was
Very creepy. Okay, here's another example of how the theatrical cut and the director's cut differentiate this. He's watching this, right? And in the theatrical and the unrated, it's like an upbeat song. It's like Papa Loves Mambo or something,
Okay.
right? In the director's cut, it's like really depressing classical violin.
Okay.
So music has a huge difference in how that plays out because the theatrical cut, it's like, oh, it's funny. Look at this old guy like checking out young girls' butts. It's funny. It's upbeat. It's like poking fun at that. And the director's cut, it's like, that's dark.
Yeah, how pathetic.
That's really dark. It's these creepy old man, and at the twilight of his life, maybe he's like dying, and this is what he's doing,
Right.
So it's juxtaposed.
Interesting.
Yeah. And this next scene, it's not very sunny either. Have holly jolly Christmas, and he's just like going insane on the radio.
Because it's the opposite of how he's feeling. He's miserable and pathetic and
drinking a beer with a cigarette butt extinguished in it,
And maybe it's a reminder that whatever Marcus said was right, that he was right, and he's just waiting for Marcus to give him the call where he can, go back to it again. So I think, it's a sad reminder that he didn't change, that Marcus sussed him out and knew exactly.
And I like this next scene too because it serves two purposes. Yeah, it shows that plot-wise he's out of money. He burned through his score as Marcus.
Right, because there's 111,000, and I'm guessing they split it 50-50 unless.
And he's getting all these calls from like debtors, creditors,
right?
From his alias, or maybe Willie's his alias. Who knows? So he's nonchalantly goes into the valet, picks out the most expensive car, and there's not a hint of anxiety, nervousness. Like he just does it like it's nothing. I need money. I'm just gonna go rip this guy off who doesn't care about anything. He justifies it because they're rich, maybe, and he just takes the convertible. Maybe it's like an Infinity or something. He goes into his mansion and raids their fridge, eats like a turkey drumstick, and it's like he's home. He even at one point I thought it was kind of daring. I thought he was just like fuck rich people, and he was just like knocking over all the paintings, but actually he was like looking for the safe, So, very interesting scene here. Just goes to show like he's been at this so long. He's such a seasoned crook.
This in all of the versions?
I maybe it's not in the director's cut. You didn't see this? You probably saw the director's cut then.
This I don't know. Maybe I zoned out for this part.
Okay.
But this part does seem unfamiliar to me at the moment.
Yeah, if you guys are listening to us right now and don't know what's going on, I got the movie on in the background with the sound off, with the subtitles on, so we can talk about it in detail, the recap. And Edwin apparently doesn't remember the scene, so I guess he saw the director's cut. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the unrated cut.
Okay.
So you remember this scene, right? No? Strip club?
No.
Okay, probably another edition.
Yeah.
He's what does he do with his winnings?
Is this the extended?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this definitely was not in the version that
Okay. So what does he do with the earnings that he that he wins? He buys some scratchers and blows it at a strip club. He takes the one of the strippers home, maybe a waitress. and he gives her a scratcher, and she says, "Wow, $5, thanks." He's like, yeah. He's like so impressed with himself. Yeah, I'll let you watch some of this because maybe I'll cut this part out.
Okay.
So it's not like a bum's nuts.
Yeah, this definitely wasn't the version I'd seen.
Okay. Okay, let me talk about some trivia. I forgot about this part. A lot of Jewish names in the opening credits involved with a Christmas movie. Kind of ironic, right? Like Weinstein and Cohen and Zweigoff, maybe. The mall that we see, it was shot in the Saks or Macy's in Beverly Hills. Sleeping Beauty is their robbing music. It's like their theme, Most of the characters were written as white, but Terry Zweigoff kind of rewrote it to make it a little more inclusive, And Lois, the Chinese girlfriend, maybe wife of Marcus, was based on Zweigoff's friend's mail order bride from the Philippines. So, and also Zweigoff thought Holly Jolly Christmas is a very annoying piece of music. You can tell his mindset is he is like Willie or Seymour. He's just like, which is kind of a blessing and a shame because I could see how he got sick of working in the industry, He's just not for him.
Yeah.
Like making this and working with studios.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. You probably could tell he was really grating for him. That scene where we saw him in the parking lot and he just like tosses a glass against like a Mercedes windshield. Apparently Zweigoff said, I think he was channeling, talking about Willie, he's channeling like a gay debauched royalty. The way he's walking, you're just like all royal, like he's like the way he was playing the walk. Do you know who that Santa was that got fired?
Yes, he was Seymour's friend, roommate.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know the actor's
mongoose.
name.
Yeah. That's a mongoose. Yeah. And I love the scene, the introduction of John Ritter, right? Chapeska.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is not going to affect your performance in any way, right?"
Yeah.
Your performance? You mean like sexually?
Yeah, that was funny.
Excuse me? I love this dynamic of like the odd couple, It's like, here's Chapeska, who's just totally straight-laced.
Yeah.
He's like, he can't even curse.
Yeah.
And then pair him with somebody like Willie, and you got comedy gold. He's not going to say fuck stick in front of the children, is he? No, it's an adult joke for us adults.
And John Ritter, such a master of like physical comedy, like his facial gestures and contortions, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. So here's the scene with Chapeska and Slagle, or Slagle, I don't know how you pronounce that. John Ritter and Bernie Mac, two great character actors, two great comedic actors. Another piece of trivia, Bernie Mac was nervous in the scene with John Ritter. This is the first thing that they shot because he grew up watching him in Three's Company. The reason that we see Slagle, I'm just going to call him Bernie Mac because I don't know.
I think his first name's Jin. I think
Jin. Okay. Jin.
Like
gin
the
and
drink.
juice?
Like I
Okay.
like the drink.
Nice. I love that face John Ritter makes here, right here, where he's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Not fat, not thin fingers, but the fat sausage fingers. He's talking about the little person.
Yeah.
I think about that too. Some little people have. I know it's politically incorrect to talk about that, but okay. So the backstory of Jin eating oranges and taking Metamucil and all that stuff to show that he has chronic constipation.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a in-joke thing.
Yeah.
But apparently Zweigoff said that he wanted to give him a character backstory to give him an excuse to be nasty all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of works.
Yeah.
And it does kind of pay off later, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Again, we talked about the mall scene shot in Del Amo Mall in Torrance, California, which was at the time the biggest mall in the country, maybe, I want to say. So stop acting like you know something, pal of mine. I love that line. And try to act like a professional, for Christ's sake. He's just like drinking on the job, passed out in the back. You know, and I love that girl. He's like, yeah, he's in the back drunk. Like, such a teenager, right? But did we? No, we did not see the kid yet, right? The other kid. Okay, so we never got the introduction. Like, what do you want? And he just like sneezes chocolate ice cream into his face. Nintendo Deer Hunter thing. I don't give a shit what you want. Blowing snot all over, fucking whatever. This little girl's cute. She says, I feel so sorry for her. She's just like, she wants Barbie, and then you got this Willie who's like, oh, watch the toenails, kid. Alright. So, Fraggle Stick Rock, I think it was this kid, his next kid, right? If I remember correctly. Fraggle Stick Car. What is a Fraggle Stick Car?
I have no idea. I think it's just a made up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they couldn't license. Well, Barbie. She said Barbie, so you said Nintendo. I don't think it's It's against copyright if you say it,
right?
Or if you show it.
All right.
So they could say Star Wars, Disney.
Yeah.
They could say all that they want, but they can't show it. Okay, we get an introduction of Thurman Merman, which we don't learn till later, but poor guy.
Yeah, and Thurman Merman, of all the characters, I think he could fit the most in like a Todd Solondz movie.
Sure,
He's just so
like Don Wiener.
Yeah, just so out of place and singular. Yeah.
Another piece of trivia: Brett Kelly wore the same clothes he wore for his audition, and Zweigoff was like, "Oh, it's perfect." It's like, like so odd, like so tight on him, and he's like, "Keep that wardrobe." Now I need it for the shoot. I love the scene where he's eating nuts because at one point, like, he misses one. He just doesn't even know because he's just so fucked up. Right here. He's just like chewing. He's like, I love that. And you get to meet Thurman. He sits on his lap. He's like, what do you want? A snot rag? What do you want? A snot rag? What do you think of our meeting of the kids scene here?
Yeah, it shows that in a way there is a connection between the two because he's carrying on a conversation for way longer with Thurman than he would have time for with any other kid.
Yeah.
And so, okay, something's different here.
Do you think you feel sorry for him?
In a way, I think
him?
maybe he senses maybe he's a little different, but you know, you sense something's odd about Thurman, how he's really obsessed with Santa and almost, like in his own world.
Yeah, okay.
And but one thing that, again, suspending disbelief is when Willie's saying, talking the way he does and using foul language, that none of the kids flinch. And I don't know, maybe these days, maybe kids are so used to hearing certain things, but I would like to think there was a time where if a kid heard especially adult, that they think Santa, speaking a certain way, that they would, be taken aback. But again, you just suspend disbelief.
Right. No, I like that interpretation. I always felt like, talking about it now, I didn't think about it maybe when I first saw it, but I feel like he sees something in himself in Thurman as well. Like just the oddball kind of standing out. And we know that, Willie was abused as a child, maybe, because of that. Maybe his father thought that he was a queer, and he beat him up. and he just sees like it's like Ghost World too, you know, like oddball misanthropes like can sense each other out, and we relate to each other. You know, like those are my people, as Enid says. You know, and like he kind of sees that in the kid. So I like that a lot. Thank you for opening up my mind to new perspectives. But yeah, we get that. We get them like Marcus and Willie quipping each other again in the parking lot before they go their separate ways, and it's just another sign that their partnership and their friendship, if they had ever had one, is steadily declining. You know.
Yeah, you know, you just made the connection to Ghost World and the Marcus and Willie dynamic. Like Marcus is like Rebecca, you know, it's kind of all about business and being responsible in their own way. And Willie's Enid kind of like
slowly going down the rabbit hole.
And the disillusion of their relationship throughout the course of the movie, and they have different mindsets, different mind
blown.
Well,
that's why you're on the show.
Well,
Edwin.
you were stalked, and you you set me up and tried to just pick up where you were going. So.
Yeah, I set you up for the alley-oop, which I don't think Zweighoff would like that analogy, but who cares? Yeah. We're sportsmen, okay? Deal with it. No, but you're right. Yeah. It's like Marcus is a little person, ironically, but he's the more socially acceptable, interestingly enough, right? Probably no irony there intended, but or maybe there was. Who knows? This is the weirdest scene to me.
Yes.
I forget his AJ Nadir. No, sorry. Sorry, I had it written down somewhere. But yeah, this Middle Eastern AJ Naidu, who was apparently prominently in Office Space. I don't remember that movie. Do you?
Office Space?
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, but
okay.
I
don't remember him at all. So yeah, it was weird. It's just him like glaring at Willie at the bar. Why? And then he does a double take, and then that's gonna pay off later. But again, it's really half-assed and stupid, I think.
Well, I was trying to think of the intention, like what's this all mean? Where is it going? But again, you have those like seemingly random moments going back to Ghost World, like the guy who's in the wheelchair, doing the
Feldman.
Yeah, it's just like these seemingly random moments, but there must be some purpose to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of the nature of some of his, like, I feel like this film in Ghost World, largely the other characters are more of like a caricature and more like over exaggerated satire. You know what I mean? And where like our main characters are a little bit more grounded. No. They are pretty over the top too, but like Enid and Rebecca, they're like we have to relate to them.
Sure.
So they can't be too over the top. And then the people that they're kind of criticizing and making fun of, they're like, the over exaggerated jock type, or the Malora who's like, congratulations, like stuff like that. So,
well, obviously that guy was dealing with his own issues, and he was projecting it onto Willie, who has his own issues, and is it like trying to say that everyone is dealing with their own stuff? Because it's like Ghost World is littered with those. The guys at the Quickie or whatever, the convenience store, is like those guys. When they pop into the story, it's like very random interjections.
Yeah. What the hell, buddy?
But just showing that all around us there are people who are unique and quirky, and they all have things that they're dealing with.
Buddy, I said I am not gay. It's like the girl who says I'm over him. Like, are you really over? You're not over him if you're telling me that you're over him. It's like, I am not gay, buddy. Are you really not gay? Why are you telling me this out of the blue? Yeah, that's a good way of pointing that out. But are you off your fucking meds or something? He's like, yes, but that is not what this is about. And then later he just queers a $10 bill. I never heard that before. My brother lost a goddamn arm fighting you fuckers in Vietnam. Whoa.
Whoa, earthquake.
Oh. Guys, we're recording this and there's an earthquake right now. Oh, that's crazy.
That was a good jolt.
Yeah. I think Godzilla has arrived. Gojira. Let's wait for a bit to see it.
Yeah.
Aftershock.
That was...
Yeah, that was
It was quick. It was
considerable.
a quick one, though.
Yeah. All right, yeah, we completely overlooked the main, scene of this was the introduction of Sue, which you mentioned before. You felt like she's probably a little underdeveloped, and that's fine. Not fine, but I do want to point out that Terry Zweigoff's wife helped write some of her character, like in the scene where she mentioned she's half Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
His wife wrote that to give her some kind of backstory, and why she would be give her like some kind of grounded backstory of why she would have a Santa fetish.
Mm-hmm. And
then of course she's like, while they're having sex, she's like, keep the hat on, right? She's like, don't mothball that suit when she leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Zweigoff really hated this scene, especially he didn't particularly hate the actor AJ Naidoo, but he just thought it was a bit over the top, like we mentioned, and but he couldn't get rid of it because it's really instrumental in introducing us to. Well, no, they did meet earlier, but then this is how they get together and go off to the kid's house, right? So I guess they could have shot something else, but I don't know. It's pretty kind of seminal in the continuity of how they, he gets to point A to point B, which is, Oh, and another quick mention of this before we forget about the scene forever. The ass clown, he calls Willie, is a reference to Office Space.
Okay.
Where he does say something about ass clown.
There were, like references to other movies. I didn't know the Office Space one. I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not overly familiar with Office Space, but yeah, like at the end of the movie, there are certain references.
I like before looking at this dynamic between the kid and Willie. I liked before when he was just like quipping with him, and then the kid's just like, okay. He's like, Marcus, get this kid away from me. He's freaking me out. And he's like, this one fucking time I'm taking you home, alright? I'm not your fucking dad. Hey, he keeps asking him like questions about Santa, right? He's like, where are the reindeer? Where do they sleep? And at one point he's just like, you're fucking with me, aren't you? And he's like, did somebody drop you on your head? How can somebody drop me on my head?
So, yeah, the point where they're having this conversation, and I thought all of Willie's questions were pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does your daddy have a safe? Does your daddy have a car?
Yeah.
Is your grandma spry? Is granny spry?
And then when he comes in, he's like, are you spry? He doesn't know what spry is, probably.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's so great. And then she's, let me fix you some sandwiches. Oh, and before that, he's like, what about mommy? She lives in God's house with Jesus, marrying the ghost. and the long-eared donkey and Joseph and the talking walnut. Oh god, so great. So yeah, he's like coming in with a mask, getting ready to rob her, and she just doesn't care. She thinks he's Roger.
Yeah.
She thinks he's
the dad,
the kid's dad. Yeah. So.
Which it goes to show, she's not with it.
Uh-huh. Picks you some sandwiches. So he just gets into the bed. He doesn't even need he gets the combination from the kid, Yeah. He's like, you need to fix your sleigh? Exactly. So it's easiest gig ever. And he takes off. He peels out. The car's going like 5 miles an hour, but you hear the... back at... I forget to mention that we're in Phoenix now. Is their second mall with, Chapeska and Jin Slagle. And quickly, Zwagoff has never seen Gilmore Girls, but he thought Lauren Graham was great. Let me ask you this: when we see Willie having sex with the woman in the Big and Tall, did you see that as a full scene or as Chapeska talking about it?
In the version I saw, he hears some noises, and so he walks towards that changing room. He sees their feet underneath, and then that's as much as you see. And then he's in
the office talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Bob Chapeska, Bob's his name. He's the general manager. He's like, did you fornicate with a heavyset woman in the Big and Tall? I've owned a lot of fat chicks for sure, but I've never fornicated with anybody. I never fornicated. He obviously doesn't know what fornicated means.
Yeah, I think some of my favorite scenes are whenever Bob has to report things to Jen. It's hilarious. Like, he doesn't want to say, like, he's so prim and proper and prudish even to want to have to mention.
Yeah. So in the scene, they're talking with Bob, and he's getting ready to fire them pretty much, and Willie plays the race card and the disability card.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about firing a little black midget, African American small person. That's what I'm talking about. He's like, no, I have no problem with you people. And then that's where he's like, you people. I love it when he's like little picket signs, waving them around. He's just like, Mark's just like nodding, like, chanting and raving, using little bullhorns, screaming and hollering your name out.
Yeah, it's
unfair practices, and Bob's just like, no, this is not a handicap thing. He's just like trying so hard to like comb over, like, no. It's just because, and obviously he has a problem with Willie.
And Bob has every reason to dismiss some of their services, but Marcus and Willie are sharp, and so they're just, using their their profile to their advantage and using it as leverage.
I love Bob. He's just like, oh, what just happened? We get to the scene at the food court. In the director's cut, we see like a boy band, and maybe that comes later. Yeah, this is just where he's preying on a underage girl at the arcade. And Marcus is just like, oh no, like, I thought you were just going to be hitting up girls at the Big and Tall. Now you're going after, underage girls. And in public, in broad daylight, in front of everyone.
Right, and they're
trying to keep a low profile.
Right, they're already, on watch.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah. And he's just like, this guy has like so many problems. He's an alcoholic. He's a sexaholic. Like, how do you keep this guy under wraps, you know?
And that's Marcus's concern, right?
Yeah. Did you ever hear of the open bottle law? He opens up his car and there's like freaking bottles and cans coming out. And yeah, it's quite a pickle, you know. And we got a great scene here. Very few of these scenes, but what we get of them is this classic, right? Bob and Jin here, and Jin's just like you can tell he's like he's not surprised. It's like he's probably maybe have some criminal past of his own, or like he's been around these people before, but like Bob is freaking out,
right?
And Jin is just like almost like
he's not phased.
Yeah, or something. Some kind of gears are grinding in his head of maybe how can I benefit from that, you know? But he's eating some oranges here. He's like slurping out. I love the sound design of this. It's like Bob is genuinely voicing his concern.
Yeah.
And Jin is just like, I'm constipated, buddy. I don't really care. Great performance by both guys, right?
Yeah.
Bernie Mac, great classic character actor. Known most famously from maybe like Ocean's 11 movie, the Ocean's movies, Friday, which is where him and Tony Cox actually know each other from Friday. Yeah, he was the husband of Miss Parker.
Okay.
Miss Parker, remember that? No. And he was the door-to-door like evangelical guy. What do you think of this scene?
Yeah, I like all of these scenes with Bob and Jen. I thought they were some of the funniest ones.
Yeah. It's just so deadpan, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. Willie, going back to the motel, it looks like police are raiding his room. And we get...
so, did you think that was the police? Did you think that was Jen invest?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
It never says, but
yeah.
But
There's
since
a
it
later
happened,
scene. There's a later scene.
since it happened right after what Bob was sharing with them, I took it as Jen was doing his investigation.
You're right. Because there's no prior evidence of cops being on to him, and there's no like anything professional like caution tape, or there's no police car. So you're right. Yeah, it's his private investigators. Because I do remember in a later scene, he's like, "I need you to run a plate for me," kind of thing. He's like, he's already on.
Yeah, he's
already
case,
investigating. Yeah. So he has to find another place to stay, and that was who was that actor's name? It's not Viola Davis, but I forget her name. Yeah.
Yes.
She's a great character actor too. I know her from the show Mom with Anna Faris. I'll think about it later. So Willie has to go live with the kid, with Thurman, and Santa's sister threw him out, and he's out on his ass now. He's like, yeah, this will do fine. Just like shacking up. This is awesome. And he thinks it's gonna be great, crash there, but the next couple of scenes we get the kid just constantly harassing him about Santa questions. What about the elves?
It's Octavia Spencer.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was never gonna get that. But the motel area was shot in the seedy area in Long Beach, by the way. Would you please shut up about the reindeer? What are their names? He's like Sleepy, a Sneezy. He's like, that's the Seven Dwarfs. He's like, oh shit, I don't know. I just call him, hey Bob. Hey Bob, hey Chief, whatever. Go tell him to make the goddamn toys. Do you think the kid like knows on some on some level that he's annoying, like
No, I don't think he's self-aware like that. I think he's very innocent naive. Yeah, he still believes
8 years old.
believes in Santa
Yeah.
Claus. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have a response for you later though, but interesting. He's like, you want some cookies? You want some sandwiches? No, what is with you and fixing fucking sandwiches? He's like half dead. We get to see with the advent calendar, and I like that you mentioned that he, has some. We don't really even see it completely yet, but he has some affection towards the kid. Like he humors him. He doesn't like shut him down immediately. He doesn't like. Obviously, it's a comedy, so he doesn't get violent with him.
Right.
But like, he doesn't like shut him down. He lets him be a kid. Lets him ask the questions. He may respond in a kind of vile manner sometimes, but
Yeah.
he doesn't completely dislike the kid.
Yeah.
And that's something for a guy like this who's like depressed. So there's some kind of light in him that is still there. It's just interesting to think about now that we're exploring more of his character in detail, right? Like him watching him read the advent calendar thing. It's like he's giving him a platform to express himself. It's like kind of sweet and endearing in that sense, right?
Yeah.
He's like, that's an awesome fucking story. So the advent calendar is going to come into play later. And back at the mall. Oh yeah, so scene at the food court. It's just them bickering a bit more. Marcus feels like, I don't think Marcus has ever been nice to him this whole movie. But I guess that's their forte, their relationship, right? Lois is just looking at things people other have, writing it down maybe. And this is the scene where you he really digs into him. He calls him an emotional cripple, talking about Marcus here. And really, it's just really lets him have it. I guess he's really had it up to here with his antics.
Yeah, I feel like Marcus knows that he needs Willie because Willie's the guy that opens the safes, right? And so he's like associating himself with him so that he can get what he needs, and just until he gets what he can get out of Willie.
A lot of generic brands of names here: Mahalo, Teriyaki, Salad Bowl, Atomic, something I saw earlier, Atomic Arcade. I don't think they could get any brand names in there. There's an extended scene here, I think, where Lois is looking around. And I think, because she turns down a bunch of people. Actually, no, in the director's cut, it's longer. She, turns down, a sunglass salesman. She turns down somebody in, the department store. And she just keeps saying, just looking, right? We get the video game scene here, which has nothing really to do with the plot, but it gives us a sense of Gil, right? He's a very
and
he's a very competent manager,
And I think it's kind of like the what we're talking about before, like graduation rap. It's just shows just kind of the ridiculousness of modern culture that I'm sure Terry Zwigoff is repulsed by, because it's like in that video game fighting, the women characters are moaning, groaning in a very risque way, and he's trying to highlight the ridiculousness of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course Bernie Mac, grabs the he takes his MP3 player and he put your damn pants up. That's all the kids doing back in those. I did that myself, so I heard that a lot from my auntie or my grandma. Put your pants up.
Yeah, I think it establishes Jin as a formidable adversary.
Figure,
that he's not someone you mess around with.
Exactly.
So
And yeah, at the end of the scene, which corroborates your idea of he has PIs looking around for him and looking into Willie and Marcus. He says, I got some Arizona plates. So he's hot on their trail. We don't have to talk about this too much, but the chess scene, he's like, you're, 1 minute you're just like, and the next minute you're fucking Seabiscuit. I love that line.
So do you think this scene suggests that Thurman is more than what we see on the surface?
Absolutely.
That he's either more aware or he's not as thick as,
Exactly, yeah, I do think that.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of playing dumb a lot of times. Just to either like fuck with you, maybe because he's bored. Some kids do that. Or maybe he just sometimes just has flashes of brilliance, who knows. But I do think that he's not as dumb as he leads on, so good point. Yeah, again, like most of the Bernie Mac scenes we see, they could have just shown him talking about, hey, where are the plates? But they added extra stuff because the test audience wanted more Bernie Mac. So that's why I needed to shoot maybe some more Bernie Mac scenes. Just like the scene where he's having a pedicure. Yeah, give me some of that candy. That hard candy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, this scene where not really necessary here, but I guess goes to show that he's not really friendly with the neighbors.
Yeah,
He's like, we're Muslims. We don't celebrate Christmas. We're Muslims. That actor looks really familiar too, but I can't put my finger on it. It just passed. Sorry. Grandma's watching some infomercial about turkey and baby back ribs, and Santa's engaging in coitus with Sue in the hot tub. Another raunchy scene, and you can tell Willie. Do you think Willie has any emotional connection to her whatsoever at this point? He seems to just be going through the motions, right?
That's a good question.
I mean, he's smashed out of his mind on the couch here, about ready to pass out, so...
Yeah, maybe not at this point.
Yeah. And he's fucking other women while he's seeing her, too.
Yeah.
So, they only had sex at one time in the parking lot, and then he,
I think...
smashes a girl in the big and tall.
Yeah, you can kind of see the connection develop as the story goes on. Yeah. Certainly by the time later where she is like decorating the tree.
Yeah. He's like inviting her over to spend the day, so that
which
instead
again,
of just for a booty call.
Right, begs the question: what is she seeing him? Like, what's her deal? What's her story? And again, going back to the idea that everybody's dealing with their own stuff, and it humanizes. Yeah, again, it's like everybody. She's characterized so little, but at the same time, you could probably fill it in. She's a fixer-upper, She likes more pathetic guys, so she can. A lot of what they say, a lot of women like to do that, right? They like to, they like a fixer-upper so they can improve them, Right. I again, going back to what we were saying before, it's nice that the movie doesn't hit you over the head with explanations. It leaves it up to you to maybe make inferences, and inferences might be more like assumptions, presumptions. Yeah. And so all of the stereotypes of characters like Willie or characters like Sue, but it doesn't spell it out for you, which is kind of nice.
He apparently subsequently eats all the chocolate in the kid's advent calendar. Downs the rest of his vodka and just knocks out cold. So pretty much almost like rock bottom for him here.
I did like that scene, like how as he's destroying this precious thing
with the drunken silent night in the background,
and then the horns get all like distorted, and it
silent,
matches the scene. I thought that was a cool scene.
And then next we get the kid who cut his hand. We don't know why he cut his hand, but he's like, I cut it by mistake. Yeah, obviously.
Do you think? Yeah, again, it leaves you to think about why. Obviously, he was upset about seeing his advent cut that way. So did he do that?
At the time, I thought it was related to
out of self-harm, like because he was so upset, or
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of it.
Or maybe he was trying to fix it with some scissors and glue. Who knows?
Yeah, I love that part where he like douses it with vodka. Like, I forgot to tell you, it's gonna sting a little. So
this is definitely a turning point for Willie.
Yeah, he does see that he messed up the advent calendar. He's like, oh man. Yeah. You can tell there's some inkling of a person in him.
Right.
He feels some kind of remorse.
Yeah. Will there be some sort of redemption for him?
Yeah. Which is, everyone loves a redemption story, right? And we hear Sleeping Beauty again. They're robbing theme, and they're still like in what do you call that in a heist where they
like casing the
yes,
joint?
Thank you, casing. They're still like casing and like testing and figuring out what the weaknesses are and access points and what have you. I know it's not supposed to be like a crime movie, but I really wish that they put more tension into some of like the security. It just seems completely incompetent. But it is what it is. I think it would have been a different movie if they did that. It would have been focused too much on like the actual crime.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like Mission Impossible or something.
or Oceans.
Yeah.
He's like, you tear your ball again? That sounds really painful. I hope I never go to that.
Yeah, I thought, kind of going to the incompetence thing, I thought it was pretty bold for them to be doing all of their reconnaissance and all that during working hours. Yeah. It's like, no one's thinking to call security while they're hearing all this banging and the ductwork.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the ventilation. Again, we get like 2000s, 90s electronics technology, like VCRs, and all they have to do is like press one button to shut it down. So, Jin gets some, it sounds like a character or a member of BTS, Jin. Seokjin. He gets information on the Arizona plates, and he's like, let me get some of that. Yeah, that's it. I love that. And he gets some information on Roger Merman. I just think that Bernie Mac, you've seen Ocean's 11, right?
Yeah.
He's always getting pedicures on those too. So I think that actor just really likes pedicures, and he just wants to put them in. I'm pretty sure like on set it serves two purposes. Like, oh, Bernie needs a pedicure. You know what? Let's just shoot that. We need to get him on set anyway, so let's just make a makeshift pedicure and then kill two birds with one stone. And we got Gil. Sorry, I keep saying Gil. Jin. Bernie Mac. Jesus Christ. Visiting Roger Merman. He's like, do you have any house guests? He's like, house guests? And there you have it. This guy's living here illegitimately, right? And he's driving the guy's car too, so that's a little sloppy there. But he's a drunken mess at this point, making bologna tostadas here. It reminds me of the scene in Breaking Bad where he's making what do you call it? Huevos rancheros, but he makes it like in a really shitty, like makeshift way. He's like, have you seen my advent calendar? He's like, why are you so obsessed with that goddamn thing anyway? Story sucks. And we find out that he fixed it up. He taped it back together with some candy corn and some aspirin. And I love the way the scene ends. And he's like, candy corn? He's like, well, they can't all be winners, can they? Anything you want to say about the scene? Or?
Oh no! It shows again the start of some sort of redemption for Willie that he probably wouldn't have thought to take the time to do that. You know, something is changing.
Okay, so I believe this may be John Ritter's last scene, and it is with Bob Chapeska and Slagle. And Slagle, sorry. God, I'm just gonna call him Bernie Mac, you know?
Yeah.
Jin and Bob, alright? And I love this bit of editing because it just like cuts back between them like so quickly. Nice little pace here. And he's pretty much telling Bob that he checked up on him and he couldn't find anything. He's clean as a whistle. And it shows that... What does it show here, Edwin?
Willie's messy, but either he's really lucky or he keeps it together just enough to take care of what he needs to, or Marcus, I don't know, babysits him enough to keep him out of serious trouble.
Oh. Okay. I interpret it more as Jin kind of covering up for them.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because he probably found some dirt on him.
Okay.
Because, you know, PIs, anybody has dirt.
Sure.
Especially people like Willie and Marcus who are criminals, career criminals. And he's keeping it under the radar so as to kind of get in on the scam without anybody knowing.
And to get Bob off of the scent of the trail. Okay. No, that's a good insight.
Yeah. John Ritter's like, he's like cringing.
He's a master. Yeah.
And I love that look too at the end with the. Oh.
Does that mean anything?
Oh fuck. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. I'm not sure when it switched to.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick little break. If you don't mind. Fuck, I do not have my USB though.
But this main one will probably catch most of everything anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean that's good.
Yeah.
It's on MP3 now, so let me see. The card is full. You know, I'm gonna switch you over to here. Continue.
There was a 3.4 just by Huntington, so that explains why we felt it so strongly.
Can you say something real quick?
Hello. Testing 1 2 3 4. Okay. Testing 1 2 3.
I had it on Wave, that's why it wasn't recording on MP3. All right. Where were we? Oh yeah, the Marcus thing.
Yeah.
So next scene. Oh yeah, and at the end of that scene, you know, Bernie Mac makes that cringy face drinking the Metamucil, again, pointing out the fact that he's constipated.
Yeah.
The kid gets atomic wedgie here. Pretty sad and funny at the same time. And a kid wants Pokemon here at the mall, but the most important part of that scene is Willie's reaction. Oh, I love that scene, that line. You probably shouldn't be digging in your ass. And he sees the kid come with the wedgie. He's, are those your underwear? He's like part of it. And again, it ends on to this idea that he's becoming a little bit more empathetic with the kid, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of reveals his intentions of, I want a gorilla named Davy to beat up the kids skater kids who pull on my underwear. He can take orders from the talking walnut.
And up to this point, Thurman hasn't said anything so self-aware and addressing his needs, like what he needs and what he wants and how he feels. So in terms of like speaking up for himself, this is really the first time we see his character do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. And Willie just reiterates, when I was your age, I didn't need a gorilla named Davy. I had to go. If I got beat up, my dad beat me up even more.
Right. And this is the first instance where we get some of his backstory to understand why he is the way he is.
He's like, he pretty much tells him to stand up for himself, and I love the look Marcus gives him. It's just like that quick little. So this is where they call him the store dick. The store. I like that term even more. Like, can you get that roast from me, Marcus? He's like, I know you. And here's where the plot thickens. Jin tells him, I know what you guys are up to. Like your track record, I forget what he says. Excuse me. Sorry. 7 cities in 7 years. Pretty impressive. Wow. I guess that's this is their 8th one, right? The store changes, the name changes, and he's in on the scam, and
so yeah, he pieced that together not because they ever got caught. He's really impressed by that. So they are good at what they do to not have gone caught, but he's also good at piecing together like, these guys worked at this mall, and wow, that mall got, robbed, and then they worked at this one. So, So they're both good at what they do.
Right. And he said, but you haven't been caught, but you got caught. You got caught by me. You've been caught by me. And he's demanding half. And I love this little negotiation.
That was funny.
Marcus keeps going higher. He's like 30%. He's like 33 and a third. He keeps saying half. He even says it in like a half. And at one point, Marcus goes up to 49. And Willie says, "Well, what's 1%?" Store Dick is in a position to make all the demands. So it's rough going for them. They're already like, this is the only source of income probably.
Yeah.
And then now to get that cut in half is probably not ideal. Mostly for Marcus, because he seems like he benefits more from all that.
Right.
Him and Lois. He's got his wife to think about too.
This is still.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And it makes you wonder if later on, when Marcus does what he does to Jin, if I know there's probably a lot of reasons for it, but if this was like a contributing factor that he was in a way embarrassed, right? Because he had no control over, he probably always thinks he's in control of things, but against Jin, he got owned, right?
Yeah, good point. The next scene where pretty much seems like Willie's on at death's door here, just really trying to kill himself. Comes to work super drunk, falling over, and apparently he was really drunk in the scene because he passed out on the elevator, which seems really dangerous. Imagine if you got like something stuck in there. Ugh.
Yeah,
and metal teeth.
And being around all these
Kid extras.
actual kids, seems like a dicey situation.
Sweet juice for Jesus. I love that line. And he's like, I pissed myself. I love how Marcus is like hitting him. You fucking son of a bitch. He's like trying to. He just had it up to here with him, you know? Like, imagine working with somebody like that. Just, God. And then you got a little quick here with Marcus and Store Dick. He's like, unless you have a forklift handy, there's like, you guys want some special treatment because you're handicapped. He's like, special treatment? I'm 3 foot fucking tall, you asshole. It's a matter of physics. And I think one of the last, hey, just catch it up, you fucking moron, fucking Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know why he gets so upset about that. What's so offensive about being Leonardo da Vinci?
I don't think there's anything.
Right?
I think Bernie Mac's character just is upset about maybe the sass that he's getting. But again, the homophobic stuff that Marcus says, wouldn't fly. Definitely not fly today.
And racist, Guinea. Yeah. Guinea is racist. Sorry to our Italian gay listeners out there. I'm repeating lines from the movie. This does not represent my character at all. Willie hits rock bottom here, and is trying to kill himself in the car. And I think this is a turn for him because, he sees Thurman with the black eye and gets really upset, gets really defensive. Before that, another piece of important plot information is he gives him a letter, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think he says in the letter? Because
he said that it has information about stuff he's done, so it's probably him confessing to the stuff that he's done.
Okay, I have a follow-up question for that at the end, but we'll get to that at the end, right? The kid doesn't even know what he's doing. He's like, you're just gonna sit there all day? And he just walks away. And cut to him beating up the kid to Carmen Bizet. I think that was
which is in Bad News Bears. Which,
it is? Okay.
Which,
another
again,
Billy Bob?
They make references to it at the end of the movie, too.
Oh, okay. Which is also written by John Requa and Glenn Ficarra. Mm. So, I got a little picture of Lois in the locker there, and you didn't catch that. And he even says, I think I've turned the corner. He's like, you fucking petites now? I didn't get that at the time, but because he usually fucks big and tall. Mm-hmm. It's like the first time we've seen like some passion, some energy.
Sure.
And he has
some purpose.
There you go. Thank you. Because what do we have if we do not have purpose, right?
Yeah, and he said that it made him feel good to have done something good.
Yeah. Marcus is just like, you need many years of therapy. Just being so glib about it. Many, many, many fucking years of therapy. Apparently this scene is what Todd Phillips reshot, all the workout scenes here. Which I could see now, like, having said that, because it's very overtly, like, visual, physical humor, like, punching each other in the nuts at the end.
Yeah.
It's very, like, something out of, like, Hangover.
Yeah.
So, but, it works well in the context of this because it shows Willie, again, with the purpose, and he's trying to have the kid stand up for his. Marcus is like, he's just pathetic.
Yeah.
He's got this 3 foot tall man calling you pathetic. I love when he's just like driving. Marcus is a bully. I love that. That visual is awesome. And but at the end of the scene, he does find what works for him, and he kicks him in the balls, right?
Yeah, which.
What do you think of the kid's scream?
That's funny.
Scream, be loud, be mean, piss him off. All right, so get to the next scene. They're all on the floor. That's hilarious. Oh yeah, the scene where they think that Granny's dead. Yeah, I think you're right. After that happens, I think there's something changed in Willie, right? He's inviting her over. I mean, it's still nighttime.
Yeah.
And they're probably like, it is probably a booty call, but at the same time, like,
it's more than that.
Yeah, they're characterizing her a bit more, too. You know, like she's, oh Granny, and then like she just wakes up. That's hilarious. Okay, yeah, here's a main. I think here's a huge turning point for him too, because like he's about to perform cunnilingus on Sue there, on Mrs. Santa's sister, as Thurman points out, and he gives him the gift.
Mm-hmm.
He gives him the brown red pickle because it's stained in his blood. He's trying to make a wooden pickle, and really affects Willie there. You know, I think partly also because of Sue's reaction. She's like, he's such a sweet kid, right? And he's like, yeah. And he like finally sees that too, you know? And then something about that too, like equates with him losing his sexual libido.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe like being bad and being like sloppy and horny is the old him, right? And then once he gets feelings now, he's like impotent. You know what I mean? Or he just doesn't know how to, you know, make love, you know, be intimate without being drunk and being an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or maybe he feels, I don't know,
overwhelmed,
or
by the sudden surge of emotion.
Yeah, or maybe like, oh, maybe it wouldn't be, I don't know, appropriate. Like he kind of grew some shame or a conscience that maybe it wouldn't be appropriate. I don't know.
Yeah. But either way, something happened in him there, right? You got Santa. He gets straight C's, so I mean he's not.
Yeah, it looks like you got a B
average.
there.
Oh, you got a B
in English, I think.
Nice, Thurman Merman. I love that reveal. What'd you think of the reveal of Thurman Merman?
Yeah, it's really good because you're right. We don't know his name until that point. And,
Oh, we knew Merman because of Roger Merman.
Sure, but not Thurman.
And Willie reveals he never got any B's. He probably dropped out, honestly. I think this is another crucial piece of information. You were talking earlier about how you asked me if you thought Thurman was kind of playing dumb.
Uh-huh.
And this kind of corroborates that he has been, I think, in my opinion, because, you know, Willie goes on a tirade telling him, like, there's no Santa.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, I'm living proof that there's no Santa.
Uh-huh.
And instead of a normal reaction by a kid would be like run out.
Yeah.
Like, no, Santa, you're lying.
Yeah.
But he says, I know there's no Santa. I just thought you were going to give me a present because we're friends.
And he did call himself a loser. And so, you see that awareness, self-awareness, consciousness that we didn't necessarily see before. Right. It helps us understand his character.
Right. He called him a lousy, leather-faced, frog-eyed fucker. Who did he call? Is that the security guy? Or
I thought it might have been Jin, because Jin was leaving. Yeah.
And then apparently they're meeting somewhere on the side of the road.
Well, they're pretending that they need.
Oh, right, a jump. And then apparently this is the scene that You need to take that.
Oh no.
Apparently, this is the scene where the test audiences hated the most because Bernie Mac was killed. No. And I love this. The waltz here, the waltz number 2 by Shostakovich, I believe. It was in like Eyes Wide Shut.
Mm.
So great, another great music cue there. And okay, so when he kills him here, when he gives him a jump, and Lois runs into him, I think it's in a dark way pays off that joke of his constipation, because he gets him in like the gut, and what do people do when they die? Like they shit themselves, right? So he finally is not constipated anymore. I don't know if that's like overtly
Yeah.
a punchline, but if it is, it's pretty fucking dark.
Yeah.
You think? In this version, I think they just kill him. He finishes him off with the jumper cables.
Yeah.
But I think in the director's cut, which I don't know, yeah, in the director's cut, he like pulls him and puts his head under the tire.
Okay.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so you probably saw the theatrical version then, because if you didn't see the
Yeah.
valet thing either. So yeah, he invites Sue over in the daytime now.
Yeah.
I think he's having a little change of character there, and they're making like popcorn.
Yeah, like you see that through this movie is like people aren't, what they necessarily is. They're not what you see on the outside.
Yeah,
It's like in the beginning of the movie, you would have thought that Marcus was responsible and the good one because he's kind of maybe acting in a better way, but he ends up being the cold-blooded killer, whereas Willie's character is the screw up, but he's the one that actually cares. He wasn't always there, but it must have been in there somewhere, because by the end of the movie he's the one that's the caring, thoughtful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just making a tree. Of course, Willie still has some his decrepit perversions when he's rubbing her ass while she's making the Christmas tree there. And he finally says yes to him making some sandwiches. Make some, and I'll have some when I get back. Whatever you want. Whatever normal people want. The normal amount of lettuce that people usually get. That's how much I want on it, right? And yeah, it's just all like just the way he's talking to the kid is just like different already. He cares for him now, And it happened slowly. I like that. It didn't just happen overnight. Like it happened organically, right? Zweigel said about the director's cut, it's not raunchy or more dirty, but it's more emotionally truthful. I think he's talking about the pacing, just like we were saying, So, the last heist here, amping up the tension with well, it's not happened yet, but with the safe that he couldn't crack, right? What does he snort there? Is that some kind of mescaline or?
I'm not sure.
It's like something he cracks, so I've never seen that before. Marcus is rushing through the the ventilation there, trying to get to the get in place before he shuts everything down. He secures the security system, and Marcus goes down the ventilation, and he doesn't need the arm this time. He just cancels it, and we are in. And yeah, Willie apparently cannot crack this Kinter Boy readout. I don't know if that's a real brand of safe or not, but someone in the joint apparently told him that it can't be cracked. And Marcus is really pissed. He's like, did all this work, and you tell me you can't get in the safe? He said, I didn't tell you it's impossible, but it's going to take some time, right? So they're going to do the whole dog and pony show. Marcus getting all the items for Lois. I love that part where he's trying to get like the mink scarf thing, and he can't get it. He finds like a golf club and like chops it down, right? And it's a great juxtaposition to when when Willie's like just hammering the sorry, excuse me, when Willie's hammering the safe too, right? And like just cutting back and forth between them. It was like the Barber of Seville was playing, or some kind of Anvil chorus. Anvil chorus music cue, which is like used to death in cartoons and Marx Brothers movies. He finally cracks it, and Marcus is overjoyed, and which leaves Willie to go get. Did he want the pink elephant or the purple elephant? I forgot what he says.
I thought he wanted the pink originally and switched it to purple, and then he wanted the gorilla to beat up. So I think he
changed it to purple.
I think he gets the wrong one, but at least he's like thinking about trying to remember again, trying to get the right one.
Right. And then here's the turning point where Marcus turns on him. He's like, I bet Store Dick don't want this. It's like, Store Dick don't want shit. Store Dick dead. And I believe in the director's cut, he says, there's additional dialogue, and he says, fuck the fucking Store Dick. And then Willie says, I didn't even know he was sick. Oh, he says that too here, so anyway. The additional dialogue is fuck the fucking Store Dick. Every year more worse, every year less reliable, more booze, more bullshit, more butt fucking. The 3 Bs. He's like, what do you need all that shit? And I love this line where he says, Christmas time we get the shit because we are men and Lois. It's Christmas, Willie, and we are men and Lois. What are you waiting for, honey? Come on, plug him. I also love the earlier scene where Lewis was moving that thing, and then they're like, "Good night," and she's like, "Okay, happy holiday." It's so grating, but it's great caricature work there. The cops arrive and get a little shootout. Really love this scene because, it's a cool shoot. Not really a cool shootout because not much tension. They're running, but the way they're just blowing up shit, like blowing up the nativity scene, blowing up like mannequins, blowing up toys. It's almost like a visual representation of like the destruction of commerce, and it's like that, if anything, is kind of Zweigoff's themes in a nutshell, right? Because he really shows his utter disdain for commercialism and consumerism, all that stuff. This is a weird. How did he jump from that escalator and like he's just fine? But at this point it's just like the Marx Brothers. It's like Laurel and Hardy, right? To go back to why was the skinny one so mean to the fat one, or was it the other way around? Do you remember what she says?
I thought it was the other way around.
Oh, okay. So the fat one's always mean to the skinny one?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, at this point it's just becoming, it's just like slapstick. And we're winding down here. Little police chase. And he says something, this is kind of an egregious Terry Zweigoff line, but he says this is Christmas and the kid's getting his fucking present. So it turns kind of into a Christmas movie, more of a traditional sitcom Christmas movie towards the end here, but what can you do? It is a movie, studio movie. Yeah. You gotta make compromises at some point, right?
Yeah.
They shoot him in the back as he's trying to escape, and all he wanted to do is give the kid his Christmas present, right? What do you think of the ending scene here, Edwin?
Yeah, like you said, the tone changes. It gets more serious at the end, and it becomes like in a way kind of like a conventional fairy tale Christmas story.
Yeah.
Although with a lot more violence.
Sure.
But
But do you buy his character change?
again, I think you have to suspend your disbelief and just kind of go along with the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get that kind of bookend with the Nocturne in E flat by Chopin. Those are real neighborhood kids, by the way, screaming. That kid looked like a really fake scream. He's like, eh! I was like, oh, so cringy. But they're forced to appease them because they're staying up all night from shooting.
Yeah.
Zweig said he was actually tempted to end the film where Santa was shot, but the studio heads would not have had that. Ends with a lot of expositional dialogue into the letter, and he sends him a shirt. I hope it's the right size, and he's healing up good. In the hospital, apparently he's exonerated for some reason because of the letter. I want to get into that with you in a bit, but okay, what do you think of this ending narration here?
Yeah, I think it is kind of like putting a happy ending to everything. I think it very much is like the ending they put on the end of Blade Runner, just to put a nice happy ending to it, even though that's not what the director originally intended.
Yeah.
So, did you say in the director's cut they don't have this?
No, they
or
do.
They still
They
do.
do.
Okay.
In the director's cut, instead of him kicking the kid in the balls and running away with the finger, he's cleaning up the blood.
Oh, okay.
But there's still the narration. Okay, before we wrap it up, let me read to you what the original Cohen's letter says. And I quote, this is what Willie wrote to the kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
You taught me the meaning of Christmas. Before I met you, I thought Christmas was all about getting money and stuff. Now I know that if you have someone you can fuck as much as you want and a warm place to take a shit, that is enough. And that is Christmas. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Pretty dark, but and pretty kind of cynical and jaded. It feels like he didn't really learn anything.
Yeah.
The Coens wrote that, and it's fucking fantastic. Okay, so quick question, last question before we wrap up and give our final thoughts. Why does that letter exonerate him? I know it's not supposed to be like a true crime, accurate.
Yeah.
But like, if he confesses to the crimes, he's implicated in that, right? Unless like Marcus forced him to, but wouldn't he testify that Willie forced him to? Like how did he get off?
Well, in this particular one, like he was saying how it was embarrassing for the police to have the bad optics of shooting Santa during Christmas time. So at least for this one, they weren't going to press charges, and they actually, employed him as, whatever, like a trauma counselor or whatever.
I forgot. I must have not be listening to that part.
So that one, but does it exonerate him from past crimes in other states? I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, I think with this movie, we just can't think too hard about any one thing, because it'd be like, well, people wouldn't really do that, or but you just kind of go
you
with
have to go with it. Yeah, just suspend your disbelief for the fictionalized, over-exaggerated version of this world, I guess, right? Okay, that's a good place to.
And
there.
I don't know if, like you said, the screenwriters are also the ones that did the remake of the Bad News Bears, if they already kind of had that in mind and wanted to make that movie. But yeah, the way this one ends with clear references to Bad News Bears with the music and.
Well, Bad News Bears was made after.
Right,
Yeah.
but the original with Walter Matthau.
Okay, interesting.
That they play that music from Carmen throughout the music, the movie, and there's an important scene where kind of like the roguish renegade kid who's like the great pitcher. He's causing havoc on his dirt bike, and he's giving people the bird, and so
Nice.
kind of
Quick trivia: the "Shit Happens When You Party Naked" shirt was taken from, I believe, a comic or a character wearing that shirt also in a Daniel Klaus comic. I forgot what it was, but yeah. So he loves him some his buddy Dan there.
Yeah.
Cool. So that will conclude the end of our recap, and we're gonna get into our final thoughts and star rating out of 5. Let's start with you, Edwin.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Funny. I like the performances. Comparing it with other Zweigoff movies like Ghost World. Ghost World's a clear 5 out of 5 for me. 5 stars. This one, I'd give it a 4.
Yeah,
okay. It's solid. It's good, but not as strong as Ghost World for sure.
Yeah, I think clearly all the commercial restrictions and all of the compromises he made with the studio prevent it from being a 5.
Yeah,
which is a shame. But at the same time, I could see that it's a Christmas movie. You have to appease the higher ups and make it a bit more accessible. But he did the best that he could. So I'm gonna give it also a 4 out of 5. I don't think it's a clear masterpiece as Ghost World, as we were saying. I believe it's probably a little better than Art School Confidential. Art School Confidential gets a bit too sentimental, too emotional towards the end. But that's another podcast. But I still regard it with such high esteem because it was my gateway to Terry Zweigoff, Daniel Klaus, and for that reason alone, I think it's going to hold a special place in my heart. And I still remember, I already have an eidetic memory of when I saw this movie, or when I saw this movie in theaters, or when I saw that other movie that I blind bought on DVD or Blu-ray. But I remember this movie distinctly from kind of my golden age of discovering new movies in 2003. So for that reason alone, it's just got such a special place for me, and I revisit it often. Probably every 2 or 3 years during Christmas time. You know what I mean? So not as much as I revisit Ghost World, but it's a shame that Art School Confidential would be Terry Zweigoff's last movie because, oh man, what a seminal, singular director. It's good and bad. It's good because, those movies now are just going to be such high quality.
Yeah.
And you look back on those those are gems, kind of.
Yeah.
And he never he never went into the territory of oh man, he started getting really bad here. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we don't get any more Zweigoff movies.
Yeah. Well, that you bring up a good point. I think it is more special to have less to remember a filmmaker by, because the things that they did make were so good.
Yeah.
Completely different types of directors, completely different kinds of movies. But another favorite director of mine, Kenneth Lonergan, he didn't make that many movies, but each one for me is special and memorable, just because there are so few, and he didn't make so many movies that there were a lot of just throwaway or just poor quality movies. So
what are some movies he made?
Manchester by the Sea, You Can Count on Me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, on the flip side of that, there's like Woody Allen,
Yeah.
who's been making movies since the 60s.
Sure.
And he has like this era and this era and this era and
Sure.
the now era. And you can see kind of a slow decline.
Sure.
But I also think there's like a renaissance, like, you
Yeah.
know, like Midnight in Paris was like Renaissance Woody, like, and, you know, you have the vintage Woody, and then you have like his crime drama, serious like Match Point movies. So, and of course, I'm not going to remember every Woody Allen movie,
Yeah.
obviously, but there's some in there that you're like, oh man, this is classic, you know. So that's the flip side of that. But yeah, it's a shame. I wonder what he's doing. I hope he's okay. Hope he's alive. Probably shacked up in some countryside, listening to blues records and criticizing corporate and commercial America, you know, as is his wont, right?
Right.
But,
Who knows? Maybe he'll have one last movie in him, or
he
maybe.
did a pilot for Amazon with I don't know if you remember the guy who goes up to Enid or goes up to Rebecca in the party where Enid's holding a pineapple. He's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing after high school?" That guy, that who I said in our podcast that he was kind of like the younger Zweighoff surrogate because of his curly hair. But he was the star of Budding Prospects, I believe. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't think modern audiences are ready for his talent anymore. You know, that time may have passed, or he just is not up to date with contemporary casting, or I don't know. He can't. I wish that he would have been successful with that series, but maybe he has another shot one day during pilot season. He'll do another pilot, but who knows? You know.
Yeah, but I think he's certainly been important and influential in, and he was certainly not the only one who's done it, but you know, making movies about quirky characters, underdogs, outsiders, you know, yeah, I whether it's direct or indirect, you can see the influence of that on movies that came after.
Right. Like we talked about, Todd Solondz is the closest probably approximation of that type of director, and he lasted a pretty long time. He made some more commercial fare that are trying to be more, you know, colorful and accessible, like Wiener Dog and Dark Horse. So Wiener Dog was really good. I liked it, but there's not a huge market for oddball outsider comedies there, Edwin.
Right.
So take them in while we can, right? Well, with that, you know, that's a great ending point. Maybe someday we will review Art School Confidential. Who knows? But until then, you know, thank you for joining me once again, Edwin.
Oh, my pleasure. I look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you for hosting, and it's always a blast talking movies, and especially Terry Zweighoff movies with you. And I wish you and all of our audience members a safe and happy holiday. Any final thoughts, Edwin?
Oh, I just wanted to echo that. Thanks for listening out there, and whether it's, if you're listening to it during the holiday time, happy holidays. If it's some other time of the year, thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, guys, and in the words of Willie, Merry fucking Christmas.
It's Christmas and the kid's getting his fucking present.